Hello everyone. So we're gonna do one more project. So in this project, we're gonna solve using the hierarchy chart given below, write a program that calculates the gross pay of an employee. So that is what we're going to do. Let's read the descriptions through. Assign 40 and 1.5 to global constant regular underscore hours of OT factor. Respectfully, OT factor is overtime multiplied to calculate overtime rate. So it was confusing, but what it says is assign 40 to regular hours, and OT, it means overtime factor to 1.5 to a global constant. So let's read the third paragraph. In the main prompt, prompt the user to enter the number of hours worked and pay rate. Main calls function, pay call, and pass user input as agreements. All right, I think it's taking way too long. You guys could pause it and then read it through. But all it's saying is create define a function, which is main, and within that function, you will call on 3 other functions. If I'm using the right terms. Terminologies. So let's bring the code all the way here. And what do? Just for simplicity, I ran hello world to see if the setup was working properly, which it was. Printed out hello world. So what we need to do is, let's start from the beginning. What do we need? We need to assign 40 and 1.5 to regular hour and OT factor. So we write OT factor equals 1.5 and regular hour equals 40. So with this, we just define what OT factor is and regular hour is. Now, as you have seen in the diagram, we need to create main, define main function. So def main, and afterwards define it. So now in there, it asks us to ask a user to put an input, hours worked and pay rate. So we go back to the code and we write hours worked we put it in float if they worked half an hour more instead of full hour. For that, we need to add float, ask the user for an input, and give a string that will print out the text. enter number of hours worked. And so that's what we did. Hours worked. Now we need to ask the user to input pay rate, how much they are getting paid. Pay rate equals float input. Once again, enter a string. Regular pay rate. Oh, okay. Now, what do we need to do? Since we need to create 3 functions within the main, what do we do? If I have not stopped and showed you this before, this is the output of finished product. Now, how do we do that? Once again, we go back and we call on a function. Function. Am I saying it right? Am I using the right keywords? Hope so. Work. Pay rate. Now, as you could see, it is highlighted. Why? Because we did not define it yet, which we will do it right now. Def pay. We will put hours and pay rate. Oh. Pay rate. Good. Now, what do we do? Now from here, this is the tricky part. You could pause and think what kind of formula we could use. Not formula. What can we use? What can we do that defines, that tells the computer if the worker has worked 40 hours or less or 40 hours or more in order to get the overtime factor, which is 1.5. All right, so I will think that you have paused and we'll move on. So it is, we'll use if else function. I'm calling everything a function. Damn. It's all right. Slow and steady. Hours worked. We go with greater than regular score hours. So hours worked. If the user inputs 40, now let's say if the user inputs 50 and 50 is greater than the regular hour, which is 40, as stated right there, it'll be true. If not, then we follow before. If it is true, we write OT pay hours or to pay rate. Pay rate. Now, if it is not true, then we write else colon GPay is worked pay rate. So now is hours walked walk to walk. All right, so as you could see, these two words are highlighted. So OT pay and RG pay, they mean overtime. The first one means overtime pay, and the second one means regular pay. So if the user inputs more than 50, then the regular hours, then it will go to this function. It calls on OT pay. It calls on OT pay, overtime pay. If it is less than regular hour, then it calls on RG pay. Good. Now we'll move forward to calling those, defining those OT pay. Let's start with div OT pay. Hours worked pay rate. Now, what do we do? From here, we will come back. Let's write gross pay equals, we'll come back and let's say print a string and let's say hello for now. And let's give it 1. Okay, so, and we're gonna move to what is simplest, which is div reg pay. Now, can you guys guess why is it simple? You're right. Great. So what do we do? Let's give it some space so it'll be clear. And we go with gross pay equals, as we stated, regular hours regular hours multiply pay rate. So what does this mean? This means we're finding how much the worker is getting paid just by multiplying the hours that he worked, which is less than 40 or 40, with how much he's getting paid per hour. How much he's getting paid per hour, and hours of worked, which is 40 or less than 40. Less than 40. We need to include an equal sign, but it's okay for this case. Now we write that's not even right. Let's focus on the second one. Hello again. And what do we do? Now, to do this, you need to pause and think about a formula. What can we use? What can we use with this? That would take the hours worked with regular hours, pay rate, the overtime factor, which was 1.5. How do you go about it? And you can pause it here, think about it, search it up, and come back so you would understand it better. Now, I will think you've paused, and we're gonna go on. So the formula is hours worked minus regular hours, okay, multiply pay rate multiply OT factor plus pay rate. And multiply regular hours. Now, that was a lot, I know. All it's doing is taking hours. If the user puts more than 40 hours, it's taking, let's say, the user inputs 50 hours. And all it's going to do is 50, the user's input, minus regular hours, which is 40. So 50 minus 40, which is 10. So that's what it's getting in this section, in this parentheses. After that, it is multiplying with pay rate, how much it is getting paid per hour. And also, since it is overtime, it is getting paid, it is being multiplied with 1.5, which is OT factor. After that, the answer is being added with pay rate being multiplied by regular hours. So the first section, in this two parentheses, you're calculating the pay rate and the amount he's getting paid for overtime. And for what is outside, the last part, he's getting paid for the 40 hours that he worked, the regular 40 hours that overtime did not include. All right, hopefully that was clear. Now we are over with the hardest part. All we need to do is write it so it would, the outcome would end up like that. Right? Okay. What do we do? As I said, we go back to OTPay and we write you have worked now. We press, we do that because we will bring back one of the functions where we are calling on one of the functions within the print. Yeah, everything's a function. It's all right. Hours and your gross pay is that this 22F. We're going to call on that. So we're going to go with hours worked and gross pay. That's what we're doing. So okay, let me take this out. I don't know, where did that come from? I don't know, where did that come from? Okay, now we're gonna go to the second one, regular pay, and we're gonna write exactly the same thing. Let's just copy and paste it. With slight changes. Now let's see if it runs before we change it. How do we run it? Let me remember. Now, I need to increase. Okay, good. Now run. Without debugging. Ooh, what was that? Probably it is asking us to put an input. Let's go with 50. No, it's not working. What do we do? I have no idea. What did we do? Probably let's finish this and see how it works. So you have worked 1, 2, click space. All right, now there's a mistake. Pause it and figure out what is it. Now, I hope you paused and figured it out, which was we are including the regular hours instead of worked hours in here. Now, if we write in regular hours, it would not work. So all we need to do is write 40, put that in parentheses, and since this is a number, we need to tell the program that it is a number. And then let's go back and let's see what are we missing. So we have main function, pay calc, overtime, and regular pay. So we have the user placing the input, hours worked, hours paid, and we're calling on paycal. All right, within that, we are using if else statements. The first statement is calling on OT pay, and we're defining that in our first with the formula gross pay. And if it is not true, it is moving forward with regular pay, which is that. Now, before I figure things out, I think I figured it. Pause it and see what you need to add. What is missing? Okay, I think you paused and you came back with a solution. Great job. We finished with one thing. We need to call on the main function. Main. Okay, call on it. And again. Good. Because the user is asking, the output is stating there's two you're calling on it twice, and the user is inputting two datas. Let's say there's two workers and they're both adding two different datas. Trying to ask two different users for their inputs. And going back, now we're going to run it and see how it works. Run. Hopefully it works. Okay. All right. Seems a bit better. Now let's go with enter number of hours worked, 40, and pay rate 20. Oh, what did I do? Let's look at line 7. Pay count. Undefined variable. Oh, I am missing A. Now that makes sense. I saw the highlight, but I thought that was a glitch. Okay. All right, let's run it again. Hopefully this time it works. Oh, run. Let's go with 40, 20. Yes, we have worked 40 hours, which shows us the hours the worker has worked and the gross pay. That is for regular pay because we're including within 40 hours. Now, let's say it is above 40 hours. That will include the overtime factor, 1.5. And let's go with 60 and 20. And as it states right here, you have worked 60 hours and your gross pay is 1,400. And that is it. Good job, everyone. And I will see you next time.